You see here, Yah or Jah is who? Yeah, so in Psalm 68 verse 4, if you have a King James version of the Bible, one of the names for the Lord is Jah. So in the King James version of the Bible, God is called Jah. Now, some of you might be familiar with the Rastafarians. Who knows? There's the reggae singer Bob Marley, and Rastafarians believe in God as Jah. Well, there actually is a verse that calls Jehovah or the Lord Jah. Now, in the New King James Version, it's Yah, because J and Y, depending at what point in history, there was no J sound, or there was no Y sound. So it's either Jah is in Jehovah or Yah is in Yahweh. But anyways, that's the God of the Bible, Jah.
Grace and peace, and welcome back to the original 1611 King James Bible and the letter J. You have arrived at level 3, education. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to check out levels 1 and 2 to get the full understanding. So come with me as we learn to know. So before we go on to level 3, I want to give a quick recap of the main points that were covered in level 2. And one of the main points were that there were words spelled with a G or even a D that represent the J sound in the 1611 King James Bible. And remember, we're staying within the book and not going outside of the King James Bible, the original 1611 version. So when we take a look into the 1611, you'll see words like gender, genealogy, stranger, and they all have the J or soft G sound in them. And when we're looking throughout the 1611, you'll see many, many words, just like you see on your screen right now. And there are many more that indeed have the J, J, or soft G sound. Now, this is something, again, I wanted to focus on because many people are talking a lot that there's no J sound and no letter J in the 1611 King James Bible, but they haven't really opened up their understanding to get the full truth. And as well, a main point was there were words that were spelled with an I representing the J sound in the 1611. Now, although many people say that there was no J in the 1611, and of course, as you know, we found many of them, we should also understand one thing, that the J or J sound was represented also by the letter I, depending on certain grammatical rules, like if it was in front of a vowel or in front of a consonant, or if it was doubled up. Now, these words you can see on your screen, like jealous and jaw and jawbone, in the 1611, they're all spelled with a letter I, along with all these other words, again, that you see on your screen. In the red, we have a focus on what's in the 1611, and that's starting with the letter I, and in the black, it's just showing us what that word or what that letter means and represents in English today. Because they never said yudge, they never said yoy, yearny, so yearn. Everything that you see on your screen was pronounced with a J, especially the letter I in regards to being in front of a vowel. Now, one other thing that we learned is that when there was a double I or an I and an I, the last I represented the J sound. And remember, people said that there was no letter J in the 1611 original Gothic King James Version. But as you can see here, there is a symbol for the letter J. And what you'll find is that in the names, that end with IAH, they're also equal to JAH. And you'll never ever find IAH ever representing Yah, or the letter I in the name representing Yah. So what you're going to see on your screen are 10 names. Again, we covered this already. And you'll notice, like, look at number 1. It's spelled Abai Yah in the 1611, but also we found an equivalent of Abijah. And this again goes for all these other names that you see on the screen, and there's 10, and they are mentioned multiple times. And the thing about the letter J is, what's very outstanding to me, is that people said it's not in the 1611, but when you take a look, 98% of the time it's referring to the name Jah with a J sound. And I find that to be a very, very fantastic revelation. All right, so now that we're up to par, let's get to level 3, education. there's some more grammatical rules I learned from this education. How this symbol that you see on your screen here, whether it's an I or a J, how it's used in Old English and in this Gothic 1611. If this symbol is by itself, it represents the long I sound, as in I am going. If this symbol is in front of a consonant, it has the short I sound, as in. You can see the uppercase I and the lowercase I. If, it, is, and even in the word iron, which is quite unique. You can see again, it carries the long I sound in iron. Some might pronounce it Iran. Now, one thing is when we get to these three names in particular, and again, there could be many more examples. We have Israel, Isaac or Isaac, and Ishmael. Some would say Ishmael, some would say Israel, some would say Isaac or Isaac. Again, these names carry the short I sound, so to speak. But these are also names that, many people translate as also representing an I, J, or Y. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Now again, looking at our Gothic script, the Old English and our Gothic script here, we're focusing in this section here, Education Level 3, on this symbol alone. So just like what we talked about, let's back it up with some understanding. So we have, again, is. And you notice even it, the I has the short is sound. We have in, we have if, and we have it. So again, you can see the way this letter is used. It doesn't have a J sound there at all. It doesn't have the long I sound. It's not it, it's not if, it's not ein. It's in, short I sound that way. When we look at the word Isaac in the Strong's Concordance, it'll come up as Yitzhak. Also, you'll see in the definition, it's Jitzak, as you can see. So we have our Y, we have the I, and we have the J. Again, causing a little bit of confusion, but when you have understanding in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, you can see how these three letters have been used and translated out throughout the years. As well, we have, as I said, Ishmael or Yishmael, and even Jishmael. Again, looking in the Strong's Concordance, even though people say that there's no letter J and all of that in the ancient Hebrew, again, that's another understanding. We see the Y, we see the J, and we see the I. And this goes, of course, as well as for Israel. Some will say Yisrael or Jisrael, and even Jasharel or Yasharel. But once again, we have the Y, we have the I, and we have a J, Jisrael. So again, this understanding of this letter is quite unique. Now, there are a few more other things I learned about level 3 in this education part here. If this symbol here, in its capital form and its lowercase counterpart, is in front of a vowel, it represents the J sound. Especially when it comes to names like Jah, Jahaz, Jacob or Jacob, Jehoshua. And remember, the F represents an S sound. Jeshurun, Jeshua, Jesus or Jesus, Jimnah, Jonathan, Joshua, and Judah. And also, I want you to notice how I've organize these names. I put them in all the vowels because I know many people say that the ancient Hebrew only has a default sound. So the only vowel there is a and there's no E, I, O, or U. But I don't believe that at all, and actually it's false. And what you see on your screen is I've organized them in their vowel forms. We have the A's, we have the E, we have an I in Jimnah, and I want you to remember that this symbol here in the Roman script is a I, so it'll be I-I-M-N-A-H, but it is a J and it gives the J sound. We have the O for Jonathan and Joshua, and of course we have a U for Judah, and there's many more, of course, that you can research yourself. As well, we're going to take a little bit of a deep focus on this word judge as it appears in its capital form and in its lowercase counterpart, along with jest. Remember, this is J-E-S-T, the F represents an S, and its lowercase counterpart, and justice, as well as its lowercase counterpart as well, justice as well. We're going to look at the word judgment with its capital and lowercase, and last but not least, Jubile also spelled with an I-U-B-I-L-E, but it has the J sound to it as well. Alright, well now that we have this information, let's just get right into level 3 and get our education. We see in Genesis 17 verse 18, it says Ishmael, even though the F has the S sound, remember it looks like it says Ifmael, but it's Ishmael. And also Isaac, some people would say Isaac or Yitzhak, and again there's the F representing the S sound, Isaac. And in Proverbs 27:17, like I spoke about before, it says iron sharpeneth iron, the lowercase I there and the uppercase I, dealing with the long I sound. Now when we go to the book of Joshua or Ayafua or Yahshua, again all these different understandings, you'll see that this letter I, again, it carries the J sound, and it will never carry the Y sound at all, ever, in the 1611, when we're talking about the 1611 English. Now people say the I is the Y in Hebrew, but again, we're focusing on the English here. So we see that now we have Joshua. So we have this letter here in front of a vowel, it carries the J sound, Joshua, that way. Some will say Yahshua or Yahshua, but I'm going to profess that it's the J sound because it's in front of a vowel. We have Jordan. Then we have Israel, again, having that is sound. So we have the J sound, the is sound, and some people will say the Y sound for Yahshua, but that's not what we see in the King James at all, nor can it be proven. When we look at Deuteronomy chapter 33, you'll see all these words: judgment, vengeance, revenge, rejoice, Jordan, majesty, Jacob, Jeshurun, Joshua, and Judah, all focusing on this J sound. Here's the if and the I, again seeing the different usages of this character. Then we have the word judgment. It's not I judgment, it's not I judgment, it's J with the judge sound. We have vengeance with a J, revenges with a J. Then of course the word rejoice or rejoice, because it's not rejoice, it's rejoice. And you'll see that the Y carries the vowel sound and the I carries the J sound. There's our majesty one more time. There's a Jacob, not a Jacob. Even Jeshurun, which is another name for Israel, Jeshurun. And the F again you can see has the S sound. There's our Israel or Israel, Judah. Now let's go to Matthew chapter 27. It reads, we have Jephus there, or Jesus, that's dealing with the Messiah's name. We have soldiers, even though there's an F there, you would say soldiers, but it's soldiers with a J sound, soldiers. Again, another soldiers in the Roman Gothic. So again, soldiers, I, if, Israel, Jephus. We can get a great understanding here about this uppercase letter here. All right, believe it or not.
The Book of Psalms. Psalm 68. To the chief musician, a psalm or song of David. Let God arise. Let his enemies be scattered. Let them also that hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melteth before the fire, so let the wicked perish at the presence of God. But let the righteous be glad. Let them rejoice before God. Yea, let them exceedingly rejoice. Sing unto God, sing praises to his name. Extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name Jah, and rejoice before him.
Matthew 7:1, we see, it says, judge not that ye be not judged, for with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged, and with what measure you mete, it shall be measured to you again. So again, we're looking at this word judge, I-U-D-G-E. We know this has the J sound. We've gone through that many times. And we have this capital letter I, and remember, it's front of the U-D-G-E. So it's not yudge. This letter I, which is also the Gothic I, carries the J sound. When we look at Deuteronomy chapter 16, we see also judges, right? This is judges, not yudges. It doesn't carry an I sound, it carries the J sound. And when we look around, we can see judge again in lowercase, judgment, and even just, I-U-F-T, which is just. They all carry, this I carries the J sound. And this is what I'm talking about, and this is what people are hiding and not getting into. I praise Jah for this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Let's continue. Okay, now as I stay focused on judges, because I find that this word really kind of shoots down everything with its two J sounds represented with the I and the DGE, you know clearly that it's judge, of course, as we've been showing. But I want to take you a look here at the book of Judges, and of course we have the I there, but it represents the J sound. And we know it's not yudges or yudays or yuyays or any of that nature. It's judge, judges. We also see that Judah is also spelled the same way with the IU. Again, notice the IUD, and then again we have an IUD, letting us know that this is judge. So we can also come to an understanding that this will be Judah, and it's not Ayuda or Yuda in the 1611 King James Version. So we see there again the Judah with the capital Gothic script J. We see the word justly again with an I-U-F-T-L-Y. The F is an S, but again notice it's just I-U, going with the I-U, going with the Judah I-U. We have Joseph, again spelled with an I-O. We have Joshua, spelled with the J-O, again with this symbol here representing the letter, capital letter J. When we look into the 1535 Coverdale Bible, and we look also at Judges chapter 1, and again you can find this out at this web link that you see in front of your screen, we notice that it says Judges, and again look, it's spelled with the uppercase Gothic J 2 times. Also, it's also linked up with Joshua as well. We see Judah, Judges, all around the same area. Again, I just wanted to bring this understanding that even in 1535, which was about 90 years or 80 years before the King James Bible came out, we have again these symbols representing the J sound, as you can see, which carried over again up until these modern times. Even looking again at the 1535, we notice in Psalms 119, and remember we covered that in a couple of lessons ago, but we have the Jod or the Ayad or the Yad with a little symbol as well. But again, notice the symbol. It's that capital letter J, so to speak, and it's in front of an O. So it's J-O-D. It wouldn't be Y-O-D or I-O-D with that sound. You can see again down here, down low with the Job as well. Again, it's a J-O-B with the J sound. This should be understood greatly. We also have judgments, as you can see at the bottom, again with the I-U-D-G, again, 1535 Coverdale Bible. Now, when you look at the letter Y, notice it in the word will. The Y carries the I vowel sound. And even above it, you have this word here, understanding. We see the Y again representing an I vowel sound. Nothing to do with no consonant sound at all. So again, when we're looking at these three understandings of the 10th character of the Hebrew, we believe that the 10th letter is a Jod and it carries the J sound. Now I know people are going to say in the ancient Hebrew it's a Yod, but fine, we'll talk about that another time. But as we're reading this English and getting this understanding, you can see that the translations and translators kind of had an understanding of how these letters worked. And I do know that many people say it's a conspiracy and they changed up things purposely, and a lot of these things might be true or not. However, though, in this investigation, this is what I've come to in my understanding. So again, looking at this word join, you know, it's not yoin, it's joint. It's oint, right? Not with a Y. It's not yoin, it's join. So again, we have the J-O or the I-O, and the I-O again for Iyad. It wouldn't be Yad, but it's Jod. Journey, joy, again, I-O-Y, I-O-U, I-O-D, giving the J-O-D or the J sound, Jod sound. And with words, of course, like Jonathan, John, Joshua, Job, and Jordan, etc. There are many more. Again, this capital letter here is a J. And so we give this Jod, or the 10th letter, a J sound. Again, that might hurt people's feelings who deal with Hebrew, and they might say we're being ignorant. But don't worry, in the future, with the Most High's will, we'll tackle that issue as well. I just want to stick to the 1611 and help those who are reading English get a full understanding of the scriptural Hebrew use of these letters as opposed to the modern Hebrew. So we're looking at this word Imna or Imna, Jimna. You can see how it can be spelt. Look at the bottom, it's Yimna with a Y. We have Jimna here. We have Imna, Jimna, and Jimnites. So we take a look at Numbers 26:44. We can see Jimna, J-I, right? Even though, like I said, the Roman script has two I's, but the first J here covers the J sound. Jimnites. Even you also see here Jesui, right? J-E, remember the F is an S. Also Jesuits. This is where you get the word Jesuits, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. In Genesis 46, again, we have the Jimna. You can see it there. Jimna, right? Then we have Jeshua, Jesui, right? 1 Chronicles 7, where it says Imna in the Roman Gothic, it also has the J-M-N-A-H, or the I. So Imna, Jimna, again, give us an understanding that this letter here represents the J sound. Now there was these other words that were in those same verses. You have Jeshua or Jeshua and Jesui. So these are Ishuai or Ishua. It says it means he will resemble. We see Yishva here, or Jishva or Ishva. They will have the V for that U sound. And again, depending on how you're using the Wa sound, people will use it as a V, a U, or a W. Looking again at Ishua, Ishuai, these are the same words up here as well. Ishuai, Ishuai, Isui, Jesui, he resembles. We see Yisri again, Jishri, and Ishuai. We're looking at number 26, again, Jesui and Jesuits. This is where you get the word Jesuits, so to speak. So Jesuits, Jesui, he will justify me. Got Yishri again, Jishvite, or Jishri, Jesuites. So again, I wanted to bring this understanding here with the I, the J, the Ish, and there's many other things, again, we can get into, but then this video would be far too long. Alright, when we look in the book of Joshua chapter 15, we have Jiphthah, which they would have it as an I-P-H-T-A, but it's a J sound. We have Jiphthah El, right here, again, the J sound in front of the vowel I. We have Jidlaf, which is Idlaf. Again, this won't be Yidlaf, even though in people say in Hebrew it's Yidlaf with the Y, but we're focusing here again on the 1611 King James Version in English. And again, I promise you, we'll deal with the letter J and Hebrew sound, whether it exists or not, in the future. And I know everybody and their grandmother says it doesn't exist. We'll let Job be the determination of that. Then we have Israel, or it's also spelled as Jezraiah in the normal English. So we have here the J, Z-R-I-A-A-H-I-A-H. And then when we look at it again, it shows up in Nehemiah chapter 12:42. We have Jezraiah. And again, notice here it's the J-E-Z-R-A-H-I-A-H. So we have it up here with, it's just the J-Z, and then we have the J-E-Z. Again, we've covered so much about this letter in front of a vowel. You should understand by now that it carries the J sound and not the Y sound or the Iya sound. When we look at 1 Chronicles chapter 7 verses 1 and 2, we have Jashub, Jeriel, Jamai, and Gypsam, all again with this uppercase J that people say is an I. There's Jashub, right? Some will say Yashub, but there's a Jashub again. Again, the J and the Y, I'm not making a big fuss over, because this is how we see these things, especially when you're dealing with so-called Hebrew and English. We have Jeriel, 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 also known as Yeriel, Jeriel. We have Jamai. You can see Jamai up here. Some will say Yahmeh, Yahmehi, which means hot. Jakmai, or Jakmei, and again Jamai. And then we have Gypsam. Remember, the F is an S. Gypsam. We see Yipsam as well, and Gypsam that way. The I and the J, again representative here, but we know that this letter here is representing the J sound. Then we have, of course, the word Jubile. Some will say Jubilee, but it's actually pronounced Jubile. But there's nothing wrong with Jubilee, but it is Jubile. And we can see the word also judgment. We've covered this a lot, but I just want to bring it up, especially when it deals with the capital letter J. So we have the Jubile here, even though it's an I, we know that again the IU gives the J sound, Jubile. And then we have, well, 5 times here we can see Jubile, 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 Jubile. And all of this is in Leviticus chapter 25. We see here also in verse 18, judgments with a capital J, right? Judgments. Stranger, stranger with a J sound, as well as sojourner. It's not sojourner or soioner, it's sojourner. The I there represents the J sound. Then we have Egypt as well, with the G and the Y giving the J sound. Egypt. The Y is actually for an I, giving a vowel sound. And then, of course, a couple of more jubiles for us to look at. All right, finally, I want to get to here before we continue on into the next section here. Notice here in this kind of old document, and this document is from like the National Jewish Library or something of that nature, and they have the Jerusalem. This is supposed to be Jerusalem. You see the V with the U, and notice it again has the G and the I, Jerusalem. But also underneath it, we can see that it has a Higher Jerusalem, right? So we have Jerusalem, Higher Jerusalem, Jerusalem. And when we look into 1 Chronicles chapter 11, verse 4, when we look at the word Jebus, we have Jebus equaling Jerusalem. This is a J-E-R, and the Jebusites. I know some will say Jebusites, but we're dealing with this English translation here and what this letter was standing for. It was only standing for the J sound in these cases. When we look at Judges chapter 1 in the 1611 Gothic, however, again, here's another Higher Jerusalem. Notice it's an H-I-E-R, just like over here. Then we look at Luke 23, we have the word jurisdiction, and again, Higher Jerusalem or Jerusalem. Here's the word jurisdiction with the I in front, carrying the J sound, as we know. And then we have Jerusalem, but it's spelled uniquely with an H-I-E-R for Jerusalem or Jerusalem. So we can see again there's a play here dealing with the first letter that comes in front of many names that I believe should be built based upon the name Jah or the J sound. All right, well, let's continue going back into this understanding. We see in Ephesians 5:3 we have the word jesting. I-E, right? Jesting, not yesting. And then in Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verses 4, we have jest. J-E-F-T, jest, not jeft, jest, and not yest. So this, again, symbol in front of the vowel carries a J sound. Well, have in Psalms chapter 89, justice and judgment. There's our word, justice, once again. And we have judgment. These symbols represent the J sound family, and this is what I want to try to hit home. You see, when we have this understanding now, when we go to Deuteronomy chapter 34, we see again this word, jealous. For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, not jealous or ielas, is a jealous, ielas, God, or El. Notice again the capital J symbol right here. In 2 Kings chapter 16, we even have the term Jews, right? Not Ayus, not Yus, but Jews, and not Yahudim, but Jew. So there's quite a lot of information when you start to look at things. But now, let's go to Psalms 68 verse 4, one of my favorite verses, which shows the name Jah. It says, "Sing unto God, sing praises to his name, extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Jah, and rejoice before him." Right? So this sound here again, as we're saying, it's the I or the J. It would never be a Y. So to translate it as a Y would be incorrect, even though people say it's the Y in the Hebrew, but this symbol never represented the letter Y at all in the original KJV. Even in the Roman script, it pronounces it Ayah, but we know it's Jah now, right? Jah. Notice again the word rejoice. The I is used for the J sound as rejoice, and the Y is used for a vowel sound. So again, there's a lot of, confusions being put forth here. So I do believe it's Jah equals Jah. This Jah equals the J sound Jah, not Ayah, nor does it equal Yah. And hopefully this study has given you that full understanding, and you're now moving on to wisdom. When we look at the Geneva Bible in 1560, it has Ayah as well, right? Ayah. And that's something to know. And here's just a little gem. When you look on the side here from this children's American school book, people say that, they don't include the letter J in the alphabet. As you can see, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, L, M. You're like, where's the J? But when you take a look here, this I here, and the caption underneath it, it says, "Job feels the rod, yet blesses God." So they gave this character, letter I, a J sound, not an I sound, vowel sound. It's the J consonantal sound. Praise Jah. Of course, looking up this in the Strong's Concordance, you'll get Yah. It'll let you know that this name is Jah. It's found 49 times, many times where it's the word Lord. It's the same as Jah, means the sacred name Jah, as you can see, the proper name of the one true God. Also names that have J-E or I-A-H or J-A-H in the beginning or end deal with the Jah sound. Again, all scriptural names beginning with the letters J-A, J-E or J-O and ending with I-A-H mean Jah when you get to the 1611 KJV. Again, here's our Yad, our Jad, and our Yad for people to try to choose. Again, we believe that this Ayad that you see up there is pronounced Jad, not Jod, but Jad. So again, we have these three understandings. So from Psalm 68 verse 4, again, we've seen from the Geneva, it's these spellings here, the 1611, the modern King James, the NKJV and Hebrew versions, and modern English take out the name altogether and put the word the Lord. This is why we know when we see the words the Lord in the capital as well, it's referring to the Father's name, who is Jah. Names starting with Jah, actual J-A-H, Jahath, Jahaz, Jahazah, Jahaziah, Jahaziel, Jahaza, Jadai, Jadiel, Jaleel, Jamai, Jaziel, Jezerah, Jado or Jazera, and of course Jah. And we have names ending with the same Jah that we just pointed out. Abijah, Adonijah, Elijah, Tobijah, Urijah, Abijam, Ahijah, Hodijah, and Malchijah, and Erijah. Wow, what a beautiful, great understanding.